Welcome to the Talk with Connie book club with author Dawn Schiller. Dawn has been on the show before discussing her first book, The Road Through Wonderland, Surviving John Holmes. She is an expert survivor leader in the anti-trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual assault movements. Abused and trafficked on the streets of Hollywood in her teens by the infamous porn star John Holmes, she survived the gruesome Wonderland Avenue murders in 1981 and ultimately turned him into the police. Her subsequent years of struggle to survivorship, education, and service to others offer valuable firsthand insight to community advocates. Today, she is a national speaker, educator, and consultant. After a short break, Dawn and I will be joined by a couple of readers as we go deeper inside The Road Through Wonderland. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the talk. I am so excited to be doing finally a book club with Dawn Schiller. And we are joined by Maria from California, as well as Erin from Orlando, Florida. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
So Dawn's book has had quite an impact on a lot of people. And before we even get started talking about that, Dawn, I was hoping you could do a quick reading for us from the book.
Sure. I'm going to just start with the prologue. My name is Dawn Schiller. Some of you know me as the girl played by Kate Bosworth in the 2003 film Wonderland. I am not that girl. When James Cox, the director, told me he'd cut the scene from the movie in which John beat me after selling me off to Eddie Nash for drugs, I felt as if John were choking the air out of me again. Why would he do this? He was honest with me. It was because the audience couldn't handle seeing John hit me. They wouldn't like John or be sympathetic toward him. I went home after that premiere and listened. I waited to hear comments from my family and friends. Mostly, no one said anything, which told me a lot. And my family, well, in general, they just nodded and said, "That's not what I remember." Buried in their memory was the fear of losing me, their daughter, sister, aunt, and niece, of never seeing me again, of finding out I had been beaten and raped, devastated by drugs, or sliced up on the streets because John had control of me. They remember a very different John. Where was the story of how I had escaped with my life from a man who was so self-seeking and ravaged? I never wanted to tell this story about my past with John, about my secrets. It took a private investigator who found me some 16 years after the murders to convince me to tell my tale. This was the catalyst for me to dredge up so much pain. Ultimately, it was my voice, my essence, that John stole from me, and I wanted it back. These many long years after John, I have my voice again.
That's very good. It's very powerful. Your book is very powerful. There were times when I was reading it through your experiences that, it made me cry and just wish that I could hug that girl that you were at then. But you have done so much since that time, and you have touched many people like Erin.
Yep.
Erin, do you want to tell us how you found out about the book, and Dawn?
So I found out about the book several years ago. I had been in a abusive relationship with my ex, to the point where, family and friends were worried for my safety. And I, as a big true crime fan myself, I was just reading about different cases and whatnot, and I came across the Wonderland case. And while that wasn't so interesting, it was more so the story that I found out about Dawn. And that led me to getting the book and reading it, and I read it 3 more times since then. And it was one of those things where her story resonated with me. Obviously we all have our own stories and they're not the same, but just that feeling of hopelessness and trying to gain control of your life again once you are literally beaten and broken down to the point of not recognizing yourself. And that had helped me a lot in the years since that relationship. And I can't thank her enough for this book. Like, it's definitely helped me through my hardest times. So
sweet. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that with me, especially as a writer. I think for me, I was 15 years old when I was the neighbor in an apartment complex of this 32-year-old guy who was, considered the king of porn, which meant he was a master seducer and manipulator already, and I got drawn into 5.5, almost 6 years of what I considered torturous hell, where my voice was taken away. Every singular thought that that I could have about myself was taken away. All my rights and privileges were taken away. In other words, I wasn't allowed to drive. I wasn't allowed to go to school. I wasn't allowed to, have other family members around. I was alienated from people. All of these very specific grooming and predator type processes happen because it's very calculating when somebody is an abuser. It's calculated. They don't just all of a sudden have, an oops, I'm sorry, I was drunk and I made a mistake. It wasn't, this is calculated. And it happens to a lot of women and girls. So as I was writing this story, it really was because I felt like I read in the preface just now, I felt like I still, even though there'd been a film, my story, my voice, what happened to me still wasn't being accurately told. And when you remove the part where I am being hit out of a film, it makes it very confusing for the viewer to understand why I was there, why I was with him, why I was in the situations that I was in. So that, a lot of the feedback, and I had done a radio show yesterday and we were talking about this, a lot of the feedback that I got after the film was, oh, I must have been, nobody could understand how I got there. What set me up for that kind of situation? I was accused of being a junkie that was just wanting to get high and I met him, or I was accused of being either in pornography myself or a porn fan that was, a fangirl of his that was obsessed. I was accused of a lot of things that weren't true. And I really needed to clear that up because that was, again, the media taking my voice away. And I felt powerless even then. At the time of them retelling the story, I again felt powerless. When I mentioned it there, when they cut that scene out, it felt like John was choking me again from the grave. That's exactly what it was. My voice was being taken again. And so I embarked on the process of writing my own story. And, I had a little girl at the time, she's 21 now, but, I looked at her after the film and I thought, oh my gosh, if this is all she knows about her mother and the different articles that are being written as feedback from the movie, it's going to be wrong. Not that the story wasn't terrible enough as it is, and I probably never wanted to share all of this with her, but it's what really, she really gave me the strength to say, I've got to set this right because I can't leave her with an impression of a different mom, a mother that the media made up or some stories that John told. I couldn't let that just be who I was. So I needed to take my identity back and my own truth and my own story back. And it was very empowering. And I'd like to say my mom was a big part of that. She's a retired 4th grade school teacher, and she graded every single word that I wrote, chapter by chapter.
Yes, Mom. Miss Maria.
Yes, Mom.
Yeah.
This is Maria. She's the mother of my heart. If you read my book, there's another German mother, but this is the mother of my heart, and she is a mother to me. And she graded me, and she was not always kind. But she was very supportive every minute of the way. No, you have to, when you're critiquing somebody honestly, constructive criticism, you have to be honest. And, I really needed her to tell me. I had no idea how to be a writer. I'm really self-taught. I did halfway through the process of writing, I did go back into undergrad school, and but I wasn't taking writing classes. I was interested in social justice at that point. I had already, felt like I was in this really good group of creativity and writing down my story. But it did take a couple years after, because it is a specific talent, I guess, you have to develop. And I didn't, I just didn't come born with it. Right, Mom?
Yes.
Well, it could have fooled me because I am a writer. I mean, this is just something I kind of do on the side, but I'm a writer. And after I read it, I was like, she is a writer. You have a voice, and you have a brilliant way of expressing yourself and your story. I couldn't have told.
Yes. She has a great talent in writing, and she has polished it so that I'm very proud of her. And as she said, I'm the mother of her heart. I lived close by to her in a small town in California, and we biked together, and she came most every morning to have coffee. So that's how I first got to know her. And then as she trusted me more, I began to hear the story. And yes, I'm glad it's been told. And I was not that hard on her. I just told her she wasn't Hemingway yet.
I wasn't.
So,
Give her time. She's working on another book, right?
yes, I was just going to say that, and I think she's going to come very close to Hemingway this time.
Yes.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Oh, the pressure's on.
Guys, we got to take a short break. We'll be right back.